Privyet! We're back in the drowned wasteland known as the Taymyr Peninsula. We recently got the local service hub back in working order, and have begun scouting the desolate, wet Siberian landscape. Let's start heading over to the next watchtower and see if we can't find anything interesting along the way. And we flipped. This is a great excuse to buy ourselves a new truck, and one that I've wanted for a long time, even during my time in Michigan. The Czechoslovakian Tatra-805. I found a local who used it to haul firewood from the forest to his dacha, which is a small summer house built outside of the city. It's in good shape, and this T603A 2.5-liter air-cooled V8 runs like a clock. He'll give it up for $39,400, and even though I'm overpaying, I have the money to afford it after selling the Fleet Star and the Transstar. We have to take it off his hands. The two international-built trucks were not built for the harsh conditions of socialist living, so they had to go. The Tatra-805 was built from 1953 to 1960. It was built primarily for the People's Army of Czechoslovakia as a truck that could travel across the toughest socialist terrain. With a weight of only 2.8 metric tons, it could carry 2.2 metric tons across rough terrain. Let's put some 37-inch off-road tires, an off-road gearbox, and a fuel tank on it. The fuel tank will turn the Tatra-805 into an incredibly capable long-range scouting vehicle. The only negative is not being able to install an autonomous battery-operated winch. They said something about the electrical system in the old truck not handling the load well enough. We'll have to make do with a standard winch. Let's go ahead and skim some fuel off the top of this fuel trailer to fill up our Tatra's fuel carrier. I'm sure no one will miss it. I hope. This Tatra-805 really is able to get through just about anything. I don't even need to use my differential lock, and it just drives right through with no issues whatsoever. A local back at the service center told me about an old Ural 4320 he found out in the swamps. He asked me to bring it back to him if I managed to spot it from the watchtower, which I did. It's been here about 2 weeks, and he figures that if no one has come to collect it in the 2 weeks it's been there, then they won't miss it anyway. He wants us to get it repaired and refueled, and is offering us a decent amount of cash to get it done. Let's head over there. It seems we found the Ural 4320. It's shocking that it managed to get stuck, considering how incredibly off-road capable these things are. They were literally built for this. The driver sure managed to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory, as they say. Anyway, while we're examining the crime scene, let me tell you a bit about the Ural 4320. The Ural 4320 began production in 1977 and is still being produced, albeit with modernizations, to this day at the Ural automotive plant in the Russian Federation. The factory was named in honor of the Ural Mountains, within which the factory is located. This specimen is most likely powered by either an 11.1 liter V6 YAMZ 236 diesel motor putting out 180 horsepower and 491 foot-pounds of torque, or the 14.8 liter YAMZ 238 V8 diesel engine putting out 240 horsepower and 651 pound-feet of torque. The Ural 4320 was built to carry soldiers, cargo, and trailers in any type of terrain, which is why it's so surprising to see this one stuck in the mud. Anyway, we'll come back to this mess later. Let's head over to the next watchtower. We were bound to flip this tiny little Tatra-805 at some point. No big deal, the Kraz 6443 will flip it back over with no problems whatsoever. We're finally there, and I have to say, the savage Russian wildlands sure are beautiful from up high. I see some old abandoned vehicles dotting the landscape. Maybe we can turn our logistics business into a parts business and scrap some parts off of them for our use, or to sell them later. Let's go see what we can do. I don't know why someone left the Maz 500 out here. They're pretty decent trucks, fairly reliable, very few issues with them. Looks like we can scavenge a differential from this one. Looks to be engageable. That could be useful for some mud. Looks like we flipped over again. On this sort of rocky incline, it's to be expected from any vehicle. Once again, the Kraz 6443 will come to the rescue. Looks like an old Ural 4322 fell down this hole at some point. No way it'll be of any use to anybody, but let's scavenge some leaf springs off of it. We could probably use these at a later date to raise the suspension of a similar sized vehicle with a bit of modification. Let's take them with us. Looks like we came across a factory of some kind. The sign says Subvitalny Zavod, which by my rudimentary Russian skills seems to mean Soviet parts factory. I'm not sure what they produce here, but the factory looks to be somewhere from the 40s or 50s. Makes sense seeing as how the capital of this region, Dudinka, was recognized as a city in only 1951. Anyways, let's keep moving past this factory and on to our next objective. We saw an old Soviet off-roader from the watchtower, probably built somewhere in the 50s. Let's go see if we can scavenge anything off of it. Looks like there were some springs and shocks left. Let's grab them. This suspension certainly wasn't stock and was updated in the last couple of years. Why did they leave this thing here? In any case, our next target is the picked away carcass of an Ural next. I wonder how this Ural next got stuck out here. The truck only came out in 2015. I wonder why they abandoned it. In any case, there are some suspension parts left over, but just about everything else of value was picked away by the vultures long ago. Let's head over to the Chevy CK-1500 and see how it fares in the tough Russian environment. Looks like someone got their UAZ 452 stuck in the mud. It's really a miserable old vehicle, but it will go just about anywhere if you can get it there in one piece. And this one is full of bread. Some poor babushki are probably pissed off that there's no bread in the stores. Let's try to pull this thing out just a tiny bit so they can come pick the bread up at least. We'll tow this back to the road a bit later. In any case, let's get to the next watchtower. I sure love the view from up on high. I spotted a mostly intact small-sized off-roader similar to the one we saw earlier. I think we should go check it out. We just about made it over there, but fortune apparently doesn't favor the bold. We'll bring the Kraz 6443 over to flip us over, and to check out the off-roader. Now that we got the off-roader out, I'll end the episode here. In the next episode, we'll get this off-roader back to the garage and do some analysis to figure out what this thing is and if it's worth anything. This was Ben, thank you so much for watching. До свидания.